After 10,000 years inside of this place, I found a single piece of trash. The majestic screw. But I wish there was a way to get dragged across the ground really forcefully. Whee! Lethal Company is a game that needs no introduction at this point. It's been covered everywhere, by everybody, been mechanically analyzed top to bottom, and frankly has had a major impact on the indie horror genre. It's just friends love. However, this video is not going to be about the Lethal Company that you know. No, there are not going to be any funny shenanigans between crewmates, no moments of teamwork or bravery, nothing of the sorts. We're talking about solo Lethal Company. You're going to be all alone. Alone. And this also isn't a new concept, imagine that. This game really has been covered top to bottom, I just can't win on this website, man. But no, I'm not just talking about solo Lethal Company by itself. I'm talking about modded solo Lethal Company. Modded in such a way that it starts playing like a proper single player roguelike. Fully balanced, or well, as balanced as I could make it, with proper meta progression, upgrades, and everything. As a roguelike enthusiast. No. A lover with triple dead God and Isaac, thousands of hours in Risk of Rain 1, 2, Nuclear Throne, Gungeon. Something about Lethal Company just scratched that itch when I first played it. I did play it with friends and had a lot of fun that way. But while my friends weren't always available to play, and the game was just very addictive. I tried playing with randoms at first, like I looked through some groups on Discord, like servers on Discord to meet some people, and then I just played the public server list. And all of that just went about as you would expect. I learned a lot of new interesting words, especially about my voice. A lot of people called me a lot of funny words that start with F. I kept getting that urge to play more and more, and since my friends weren't always up for it, I had to play alone. The thing is, the game is not balanced around solo play, like not at all. It's incredibly difficult and very unforgiving. Most monsters kill you instantly, and you only have 4 inventory slots. Since there are no teammates, you cannot disable turrets, open doors, or use teleporters. You only have so much time in a day, and with only 4 slots, doing only 1 trip back and forth would already cost you a large chunk of the day. And remember, if you die once, it's over. The quota is done, because, well, you lost everything. Especially if you lost it at the last day, then rip to you, buddy. Maybe if you died early in the run, you would still be able to salvage it by doing some risky plays, but realistically, you're just doomed. I'm sorry, it's over. Wait. Forget about the disco ball. So, how do we fix that? And make Lethal Company into an enjoyable experience for a single player, a lone roguelike lover without friends like myself. I'm going to go somewhat in depth, as far as my brain with 1 brain cell can allow it, into the mods, why I picked those mods specifically, how I reconfigured them, and how they affect the game's design to be more balanced towards single player. I will also mark mods with a crucial and optional tag, which look like this. What a zany character that little scratchback fella is. Reserved flashlight slot is a mod that, obviously, adds a slot to your hotbar for a flashlight, and only a flashlight. It lets you use said flashlight without wasting one of your very precious inventory slots, of which you only have 4, remember that. This is an optional mod, because some people prefer to actually just struggle in the dark, or they actually like inventory management struggles. There isn't much more to say about this mod, but it is very helpful if you want to actually see in the dark. You can configure this mod like a roguelike upgrade. It starts unlocked by default, but in the configuration file, there's an option to make it purchasable. That way, you can set a custom price you think is fair, and have it be a thing to work towards. The daytime in Lethal Company is balanced around 4 players. Time passes very quickly because the maps are just big enough for 4 players to reliably loot most if not all of them within the time period, especially if you're working together as a team. However, when you are a solo player with only 4 pockets and a very slow run speed, there just isn't enough time in the day to explore most of the facility, especially on bigger levels. While some might say this is not quality of life and more so just an easy mode mod, I mean, you could use the car, but I don't know, that's like I don't really use the car. I don't use the car. Depending on the moon you're on, there might still not be enough time to carry everything you got, especially if you got a lot of two-handed objects. You might need the car for that one. You can change how much slower the day is. I run the default settings, but you can make the days shorter or longer if you want. However, don't overdo it, because there's another thing later down the line that also lets you slow down the day. Coffee, spelled backwards, is e-fuck, which is funny. This mod lets you add more hotbar slots to your inventory, depending on your mod configuration. Having only 4 slots is fine enough earlier on, but eventually you'll need to start using company tools to actually live another day. And then you'll end up with only 3 or 2 loot slots on average. No way you're getting anything out of there with just 2 hands, brother. Just like the flashlight slot mod, This one lets you turn the extra slots into purchasable upgrades. I recommend setting the price high because a slot is fairly valuable and makes the game much easier. I set mine to 750 credits each, with the max slots being 6. You can play around with the settings and change it to whatever you want. Maybe set the max to 10, but each one costs like 5,000 credits or something. Coffee. Spelled backwards. Lethal Resonance is a purely optional mod that just changes the sound effects in the game into more spooky, atmospheric ones. I like it, because I'm kinda used to the original ones. It makes the game more actually scary. Smart Item Saving and Better Saves. This is a quality of life mod that kills you! Both of these mods just make the game's save system a bit better. Since runs will now last a long time once you get into the gamer groove, you might want to be able to save the game properly, you know? You can name your saves, have more than 3 save slots, and the scrap, most importantly, will save properly without any bugs like disappearing objects or things spawning in walls of the ship. DimmingFlashlights. It's a counterbalance mod for the flashlight mod. This mod makes it so that your flashlights get dimmer and dimmer the less battery they have, just like me. It adds a little bit of fear and pressure, which is always fun. Do you go deeper into the facility alone with a dimming flashlight? Or do you leave with the scrap you already have and play it safe, and charge your flashlight at the cost of time? GeneralImprovements is a quality of life mod that fixes quite a lot of those small little pesky issues that have been plaguing the game since forever. I forgot that in vanilla you open doors like this. Why am I backwards? Why am I backwards? It is very adjustable, letting you enable, disable, or change every single thing individually, and in fact it has so many changes that I can't even go over them all. It's very useful, and it actually lets you carefully fine-tune your experience. You can treat this as a bit of a difficulty mod, changing your difficulty from easy to hard, however you want it. I know you hardcore gamers are watching this, you fucking... Okay bro, okay, I bet Steel Soul, like on the first try by the way, in Silksong too. 100%. It features a lot of configs, like I said. For example, changing how much money you start with. If you want to start with less or more, I like to start with 0 because it makes it feel more like I'm just starting from nothing. It also lets you change your clock to a 24-hour format, or pounds to kilograms if you're European like me. Those Americans, am I right? There's quite a lot of mods that add extra interior layouts. My personal favorites are the Poolrooms, LCOffice, and the CozyOffice. But frankly, there's so many on the Thunderstore that picking only a few is difficult. While some interiors might not be quite as balanced towards a single player experience due to them being massive in size, I'll say that that's only an issue if you can't think creatively and problem solve. Remember, there are many tools in this game that are honestly being a bit slept on, and in my opinion, it makes the game feel more like a puzzle game. It actually feels better to use them. Like for example, if an interior is way too massive and easy to get lost in, you can just whip out your spray can and mark the way using a trail of breadcrumbs. You can also plan out your exit route that way, as if you were playing Teardown. So, while all of this is optional, I highly recommend adding some interior layout mods. The same applies to moons by the way, but I don't wanna repeat the whole thing again. Configuration highly depends on the layout, but most of them let you change which moons the interiors will spawn on and how rare they are. If you have a lot of extra layout mods, perhaps you can make it so that each moon has a unique layout. I also recommend having one extremely difficult and tedious layout that just kinda has a low chance to appear on any moon. That way you can go expecting sunshine and rainbows, but suddenly you're stuck in the fuck my shit up dimension. Help me, help me, help me. This mod lets you change how much money scrap is worth based on the weather of the moon. In Vanilla Lethal Company, weather modifiers are more of a threat with no extra reward. The point of them is to prevent you from just going to one moon all the time. But with this mod, let's say you're struggling with the quota. You were stuck in the fuck my shit up dimension last moon after all. But look, there's a moon with eclipsed weather. It would be really risky, right? What if you die and lose the run? But what if you don't? You would be so rich. You die, of course, because you have a major case of the skill issue. But imagine if you didn't. That'd be pretty cool. That was such a good run though. We got some money. Okay, fine. Okay, nope. Monster mods are a bit controversial, I'd say, because a lot of them are very unbalanced in multiplayer, let alone single player. But I have my own fair share of favorite monsters that you might want to check out. First is Scopophobia. The mod adds SCP-096. I know how this looks like as the first monster mod, cause like, it's SCP, like come on bro, what are you gonna add next, the fucking Plague Doctor? Yes, I will, no. He's very scary to experience, trust me. I know it might seem a little bit jarring to add him to the game, like, he definitely doesn't fit, right? But no, he actually does. He fits really well actually. Gameplay wise, he's like really great. You're all alone, you turn the corner and right there in front of you is. But obviously, you can configure said mod to give yourself a bit of a grace period when you look at him, to make sure you don't accidentally ruin your run like that. I recommend doing so, in fact, because he's a bit unbalanced otherwise. Next up is the Locker. It's a pretty balanced enemy that stands still until you flash a light at it, use a scanner in its vicinity, or touch it. Then, it will charge right at you. It blends in pretty well in the darkness, so it pairs well with the flashlight mod that I mentioned earlier. Just because you have a flashlight by your side at all times doesn't mean you're always safe, right? Maybe you should turn it off from time. Shopping cart. This mod is not necessary, especially now that the car was added to the game, but I kinda recommend it. It adds a new scrap to the game that lets you put other scrap inside of it, saving your precious inventory spaces. However, it's a two-handed object, and while carrying it, you move like you're on ice. Whee! This mod is highly adjustable. You can fine-tune just about everything about it, from the minimum and maximum scrap value of the shopping cart itself, because it is counted as scrap, you can sell it if you're really desperate, to things like should it have a weight limit, and if so, what's the weight limit, or maybe it should only be certain amounts of items instead. I also highly recommend setting the spawn rate to a very low amount, because first of all, you'll get a rush of dopamine when you find one of them. Ew. Ooh. But second, you don't really need more than one anyway. Now we're going to the real bread and butter of the roguelike mods. Selene's Choice. This mod changes the way the moon selection menu works. Now you don't get to pick any moon you want, instead the game randomly generates a list of few moons you can pick each day. It's random what you'll get, but you always at least get one moon you can enter for free, and one moon you can pay for, at the very least. I recommend playing around with the settings as well. You can adjust it to have more free moons or more paid moons. This little mod changes the way you play a lot. No more going to your comfy moons, no more playing Assurance over and over, till you can go to Rend, till you can go to Artifice. Late Game Upgrades. It's the most crucial mod, and the mod that makes this whole thing possible. In fact, this mod is so large and crucial to this experience that if I had to mention every single one of them, it would be like an extra 20 minutes of the video. Late Game Upgrades is a mod that adds a very elaborate upgrade system into Lethal Company, where you can improve your character using money by putting points into specific upgrades. There's so many upgrades, and they're all incredibly configurable as well, letting you change their prices, effectiveness, amount of tiers, or you can just straight up disable them if you don't like them. I'm gonna mention a few of the most interesting and crucial ones, but the whole list and all my thoughts on them are gonna scroll in the background while I'm talking about, because there's just so much to talk about. Stim Pack. This upgrade increases your max health. Each level increases your health by 20, and the price starts at 600. I personally increased the health to 25 per level, so that the maximum is 200. Hunter. This is one of the most important and gameplay changing upgrades. In fact, it changes the game so much that you will actually develop new strategies because of it. It will make certain enemies drop sample jars on death, which then can be sold. The thing with this upgrade is it can quickly turn into an easy way to make money. Like, so much so that it breaks the game. Especially with the weaker enemies that are like incredibly easy to kill, like the snare flea or the herding bug, and especially tulip snakes. You gotta make tulip snake jars like $2, bro, cause it's like, you can just whack them easily. It's so easy, it's such easy money. I recommend setting the price of the jars either low or setting the upgrade itself high. Protein powder is an upgrade that you should probably disable, cause it's so OP. At the max level of it, if I'm remembering correctly, you can insta-kill a bracken with the shovel. Oh, wait, I didn't tell you what it does, right? It increases your damage, that's what it does. One hit is all it takes. You should probably disable this unless you want the repo effect of just killing everything. Beekeeper is a simple upgrade that makes bees deal less damage. It's an interesting way to earn extra money earlier on because, well, bees are actually quite valuable. And at the last level of the upgrade, the beehives become actually more valuable. Bigger lungs and running shoes are one of the most crucial upgrades you're gonna get in this game. They increase your stamina and speed. You always need to run, either to the facility or away from things. You never know, but it's always good to run. Malware Broadcaster is one of the most important upgrades for you as a lone player. Turrets are gonna be one of the biggest threats for you in solo play, especially on maps where there's a lot of them. You cannot disable them as a player in the facility, right? This upgrade makes it so that instead of disabling them, they will explode. Like straight up, you would just explode them. The way you play with this upgrade, since you don't actually know the codes of the turrets, you can either go hacker mode and just brute force every single combination of letters and numbers, or you can just grab a radar booster, drop it somewhere where there's a lot of turrets, go back to the ship, check the radar booster's camera view, see what the numbers are, and explode all the turrets. Quantum Disruptor. I mentioned this upgrade earlier, and now we get to properly talk about it. We already have a mod that slows down time, but now we also have an upgrade that does the same thing. Each level slows down time by a certain percentage. I recommend setting this one to be a bit expensive, because, well, it stacks well with the other mod, and also, the longer the day is, the more time you have to loot it. Deeper Pockets. It's a pretty crucial upgrade. This one lets you keep a single two-handed scrap object in your pockets, as if it were one-handed. You can adjust this to let you keep as many two-handed scraps as possible, but I would recommend just setting it to 1 slot or 2, because that's a bit OP. You can also adjust if the shopping cart can be inside of it, but I think that's a bit OP also, because the shopping cart has many objects. So in a way, you can just cheese the game like that. Scavenger Instincts and Midas Touch are really crucial upgrades because they just straight up upgrade the amount of scrap you can find and how much they are worth. I recommend setting the prices high, like on the high end of like $1,000, because they pay for themselves. It does let you go into longer quotas though. Eventually you're gonna hit a cap, right? But with this upgrade you get more loot, which is worth more, which makes you go longer. Fedora Suit. I know the very obvious joke here would be to mention like Reddit or Discord mods or something like that, but like, it's overdone. We get it, it's the big 25, it's almost 26. This upgrade makes battlers not immediately hostile to you. They aren't always hostile in normal Lethal Company, only attacking you when your friends have left you alone with them, but in solo Lethal? They hate your guts, man. They just hate you. This upgrade is therefore very important for exploring mansion maps, especially Dine. There's like a handful of more upgrades you can look into. There's like actually like 50 or 60 of them. A bunch of miscellaneous stuff like car upgrades, oxygen can. Scrap Insurance is a separate mod that was initially part of the Late Game Upgrades mod. It lets you pay a one-off fee to make sure that if you die on this day and only this day, you will not lose any of your scrap. Extend Deadline is another crucial mod that lets you extend your deadline with money. I recommend setting the price of an extra day to a very high amount if you are gonna add this mod because, well, it pays for itself again, it's more money. But don't set it too high because then it's straight up just a loss, right? It does help you when you're about to lose.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. It's been like a few months now since I made a video. Oh my god. Next one is gonna be about Spiral Knights, I think, so keep an eye out for that, but it's not gonna be like a downfall of Spiral Knights, that's been already done by people. It's gonna be a video about my memories with it. Anyway, and now it's time for the Yearbook, which is a monthly tier for YouTube members, who get a little drawing made by me, and it gets added to the Yearbook with a quote of their choosing. First we have Danielle, with the quote, Tommy X Survivor 2025, same here, I'm actually struggling right now, fuck. That's kind of why the video was rushed a little bit at the end, if you can notice. It's very obvious actually. Then we have Sophus. Have you seen this snake? It was last seen in a pebble quarry. Please help me. I've lost it and I can't find it. Please, there's a bounty on your head. Then we have Viewbot with his quote, Scratchbag, your purchase of 500 Viewbots has been declined. Please try again later. Fuck. It worked last time. Check the video last time. It worked last time.